welcome to Season 2, Episode 10 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in Impact Wrestling history with match number 41 on our list, which is the last man standing match between AJ Styles and Kurt Angle from the TNA Hard Justice 2008 pay-per-view held back on August 10th of 2008. Although this is billed as a last man standing match, it is essentially under Texas death rules in which you need to obtain a fall before the referee would start the 10 count. This match, I'll start out by saying it's a lot different than most last man standing matches you're going to see. Normally those matches are, big, wild brawls filled with weapons. In the TNA universe, you're going to get some blood with it generally. This match is just a straight up wrestling match. There's no weapons used whatsoever, although they do kind of brawl outside the ring a little bit. There's no blood, there's no gaga. It's just two wrestlers trying to keep the other down for a count of 10. So it was a very different style of match for that match style. These are two guys that when Kurt Angle started with TNA, it's a match you immediately wanted to see. They kept them apart until 2008, but then I'll say it in typical TNA fashion, especially for that era, they added all of this extra stuff onto what should have just been a very basic, these are two great wrestlers, let's see who's better, story. They, had them in a stable, which was fine. They were in the Angle Alliance together. But during that, AJ developed eyes for Kurt's wife, Karen. They did a weird wedding between AJ and Karen that was immediately dropped. There was this jealousy of Kurt and Karen having problems and AJ swooping in. It was really unnecessary. It made for some really bad, really awkward, really hokey soap opera-ish television. Whereas, you could have just had these two guys have a great match. Angle left AJ bloody on Impact. They had a match the month before that AJ won. And that's kind of what led us to this last man standing stipulation that this, feud had become personal, hence the gimmick. So AJ starts the match full of, hatred and immediately goes after Angle. Angle stalls a bit until he's able to kind of get an advantage. AJ just keeps him close though, doesn't really give him a lot of room to breathe and is constantly on the attack until they do a great spot on the outside. AJ, kind of has this signature he does where when he's getting whipped into the barricades, he'll either jump over or slide under and then use the barricade to springboard and hit a forearm, right? So he goes for that, but Angle actually catches him coming off the rail and then hits a Northern Lights suplex into the guardrail, which was brutal and a really clever take on what's a classic AJ spot. They fight up to the staging area. Angle kind of hits a back body drop on AJ off the stage. AJ sort of lands on his feet, and Angle hits, a tremendously impressive running flip senton off of the stage onto AJ on the floor. It looked really good, and that would become kind of a Kurt Angle signature in any gimmick matches he would have going forward. But I believe this is the first time he hit it. They do a really great first fall here where Angle counters a Styles Clash into an ankle lock, but AJ ends up doing the same thing, and then Angle, rather than spend a lot of time in the ankle lock, he does kind of the typical, Texas Death or Iron Man match strategy of tapping out, to start the count, right? To give him that rest time and him to not have to take extended damage onto his ankle. But the thing that was great here was in order for him to have to protect himself, he had to give up, any sense of pride that he would have. He basically had to tap out to his own submission move. So it was kind of clever. There's another spot I really liked where AJ went for his, moonsault reverse DDT that he would use, kind of out of the lion salt in that DDT. And Angle just simply took a step back. It allowed AJ to land on his feet, and then he hit a low blow. These guys would end up wrestling countless times, after this initial series of matches would occur. They developed a great chemistry and they, would do great counter sequences, in and around their signature moves. So you see that on full display here. And then there's a big, top rope flipping German suplex that Angle hits to AJ that sends AJ all the way over onto his stomach. Angle hits that and then follows up with an Angle slam to get his first 3 count. AJ gets another 3 counts. After that, he counters an Angle slam into a Styles Clash. And it leads into the finish here. So Kurt Angle has had well-documented, neck injuries stemming, from the WrestleMania 19 match with Brock Lesnar all through that, right? And that was kind of brought into effect here. So the finish is they're both on the top rope, and Angle kind of teases a belly-to-belly suplex to the floor, which would have been crazy, but you kind of know that move is not going to get hit. AJ's a maniac, but, I didn't expect him to take that. And AJ ends up turning it into instead a DDT off the top rope. Looked brutal, spiked Angle on his head, and it was enough for AJ to get the fall and to keep Angle down for the 10 count. They played it up that, it was a very serious situation post-match on AJ's bad neck. They brought out, EMTs, and as, Angle was doing the stretcher job, AJ came back down, threw him off the gurney, and hit another, kind of like Bloody Sunday, kind of spike brainbuster DDT, just showing, how much hatred was here. So kind of worked good in that regard, I suppose. But then again, typical TNA fashion, while they should be selling, this Angle injury, they had Sting come out, hit a Scorpion Death Drop to AJ on the ramp, and then they had Kevin Nash come out and kind of get into it with Sting a little bit about why Sting did that. I'll be completely honest, I watched weekly at this point, and I don't even remember what the storyline was here or why any of that was done. I have no idea. But upon rewatching this match, it kind of seemed like quite the bizarre ending, especially while Kurt Angle is getting tended to by medical staff. This match was great, though. It was an early match between two guys that would have a lot of great matches for TNA. And like I said, just the uniqueness around it being a different style of last man standing match, caused it to earn a well-deserved spot on this list. You can watch this match on Impact Plus. You can follow the account here on YouTube so that you never miss a video. You can follow on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50. And please join me again tomorrow as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50.